Hi Cancer, come on in. Great to see you. I've been looking forward to doing this reading for you, your Cancer 2020 yearly reading and forecast. I've just been doing a little bit of spiritual work, hence it's a bit subdued in here, but when I pull the cards, I'm going to bring a lamp across, shine it down onto the cards so that we can look at the artwork together while I provide the reading for you. Now, as you know, I use a lot of astrology in the... these aren't really things to... Well, I will take them because I have jumped out. I use a lot of astrology, numerology, and mysticism in my readings, as you know. If you want to find me, you can always just search for me on by name and for the monthly reading. I do the readings each month. That is if you're not a subscriber. And of course, if you are a subscriber, you get them all. But I'm going to do one card for each month. And there's the 8 of Discs. And there is the 9 of Wands. Two quite arresting cards to come up straight away for you. Let's see what there is now for the month of March. I'm quite excited to be doing this for you. The 2 of Cups. Gorgeous card and beautiful energy coming up from that, I have to say. There's the 10 of Cups. That's it's the King of Swords, incidentally. So that's what it is. That's for May. And let's have a pull one out now for June, shall we? The Queen of Swords. Now for July. The 8 of Cups. Let's see what there is for August. The King of Wands. September is the Tower. October. The 3 of Cups. What shall we have? Shall we have this one? I think so. That's for November. That is the 6 of Cups. And finally for December, why don't we take this one? There's the Hierophant, most interesting. Okay, why don't you come down, sit down here next to me. I'll bring this light across, shine it down here, and you can have a look at the beautiful artwork on these cards with me while I do your yearly reading for you. All right, my Cancer, now here we go. January through to June and July through to December. Let's have a look first at this card, which is the 8 of Discs for January. Now, what does this have to say for you? Well, quite an interesting card. I think what it is for me is... well, it's the Sun ruling the first decan of Virgo, that 23rd of August to the 2nd of September. I call this card the Lord of Prudence. Now, I'm looking at the number 8 here as well, and the number 8 refers to an area of divine emanation prior to the materialization of space and time, which has associated with it the planet of Mercury. So Mercury rules the planet 8, and I have the Sun in Virgo as the astrology of the card. Now, in ordinary astrology, this 8, Mercury, is also the planet of and is exalted in Virgo. So this is very favorable. Here, the Sun energizes Virgo's hard work and attention to detail. And I think what this is saying to you coming into January is that sometimes you just need the patience to let things grow. There is a strength in doing nothing at all. Sow the seed, sit back, and wait for the harvest. I see you being quite cautious during this period, taking calculated risks, being quite careful with money, and that's not such a bad idea, is it, with this holiday season upon us all? Learning and education and upskilling, I think that will be a priority for you. Physical caution, I see there being a thought around you to take care of your body and to make sure that things are okay with your health. Some attention to structure and detail, I think. And, do you know, it's also about not overextending yourself, which you can sometimes do, can't you? But it's also about not underextending yourself. Being in the sweet spot where you can see all the land that's out there and know where it is to go. Now, the rulership of Sun in Virgo also suggests birth to me, and in the suit of Earth here, discs, it's solid, it's fertile, it means things are going to grow. And that's why I say that you should probably think about just settling back and letting things grow after you have planted the seeds. You need time and patience to develop something. Don't rush it, as I think that what there is for you is something which is more of a long-term thing, and be prepared to bide your time and let it come to fruition. Now, this is definitely an encouragement for you to keep doing what you're doing, as it is eventually going to lead to success. Now, sure, it's going to require dedication and focus and patience, but as time passes, you will get closer to your goal. And I also think that it may not be apparent to you, but I think that there are things going on in the background that are going to help you and that are going to push you forward to your destination. I think you really also do need to, because you can do a lot of things at once, and you're very giving of things to people. And I think what this is saying is that you really do need to, or I think, manage your energies between the different parts of your life. And, well, if I might say also, you probably do need to develop something of a degree of focus in an area. Maybe I can say that some sort of a focus is required. We come here then to the Nine of Wands. Now, Wands is the fire suit, and this is a long way away from the Ace. Wow, I hope this tiger has eaten already. I don't want to end up on its dinner menu. What do we have here? We have the Lord of Great Strength. This is the moon ruling the second decan of Sagittarius, the 3rd to the 12th of December. Now, this number 9, for me, also has the moon associated with it. And, as you recall, I've just said that the astrology is the moon ruling Sagittarius. So we have a double lunar influence, as the moon is ruling both the decan and this number 9. I think what we can say is that we will have determination. You will have determination, strength of character, courage under fire, defending what you have worked for. And I'm pleased to say you will have a great belief in yourself, because you should do. This is a card which is talking to me about long-acting endurance, where you reach into yourself and discover new depths of strength and power that you never thought you had. Now, you may encounter a few obstacles, but don't worry about that, because you're going to have the strength to overcome them. When this turns up with this 8 of discs here, which we just talked about, let me pull out so we can see it. With this 8 here, when this card is placed here like that, you can be reassured that you have what it takes to get by. Even in times of difficulty and stress, inner strength is going to rise up and guide you towards your goal. And in the process, you'll learn more about yourself and about your abilities, gaining a new all-round perspective which will bring security and self-confidence. I'd have this thought in mind. I know more and more clearly who I am. This recognition leads to the full development of my potential strength. Very much so for you. And here is a great card for you, the 2 of Cups. Well, what can I say about the 2 of Cups? Really, for me, do you know, this is the union of hearts. That's what I would call it in a nutshell. It's a card which I call really the Lord of Love, and it is Venus in the first decan of Cancer. Yes, that 21st of June to the 1st of July. Now, Venus is the most receptive of the planets. It's about love, relationship, beauty, and creativity. And Cancer, of course, is about nurturing, comfort, support, and healing. So Venus in Cancer, Cancer more than any other sign is a receptive sign, and is also the house of the moon. And in Cancer, as you know, Jupiter is exalted. Well, these are all very friendly planets. I'm seeing close bonds, togetherness, love, harmony, relationships that are strengthening, mutual love, but more importantly, mutual respect is what I'm seeing here as well. Now, I don't want to alarm anybody, but I am getting a feeling of marriage around here. So you may hear of someone getting married or attending a wedding or people deciding to cohabit with one another. It signifies the beginning of very harmonious relationships, close friendships, good partnerships. It could be business partnership. You know, this card extends not just to interpersonal romantic relationship, but also to social relationships, friendships, and they can also relate to business relationships, whether customers or suppliers or partners. I think those of you who are into meditation will be able to access universal love. This is a love that is both special and equal, and you will find that you can give and receive love in equal measure. Really a fantastic card. Venus, beauty and balance in Cancer, deep emotional relationships, and family as well, so good family relationships here. So there's March. Now, what do we have here in April? Well, we have another Cups card in April, and this is the Ten of Cups. Really some quite interesting, anything down there that's worth looking at? This is what's worth looking at here. Really quite interesting imagery on this Ten of Cups, isn't there? Now, looking at those skeletons up there, you might think that augurs something bad. Well, I actually don't. I'm just looking at them now, and I see what looks like, well, probably the skeleton of a parent, probably a mother, nursing the skeleton of an infant. This type of imagery is what is known as, it's an imagery that was in art very fashionable during the Renaissance period up until about the year 1800. And it's called memento mori. It was Christian art. And the idea of the art was to say to people, memento mori is Latin for remember that you will die. Well, thanks a lot. We do remember that. The point that they were saying there was remember that you will die, so make sure you're being good while you're here on earth. Otherwise, it's, the fires of damnation for you. Well, with due respect to Christian piety, I actually, in this card and with this energy around it and these other cards around it, particularly with this 2 that was sitting there just in front of it, I have a different interpretation of this. And I see this as saying, yes, remember that you will die, so make sure you squeeze every moment out of life now. Rejoice in life, seize it, and let no power on earth take it from you. Live every day as if it is your last, because that last day will come. Well, the Lord of perfected success. Now, this is Mars ruling the 3rd decan of Pisces, the 9th to the 19th of March. Now, I'd say that Mars can be disruptive, and it can conflict with the peaceful Pisces. But I'm seeing here with the other cards around it, emotional stability. I even see that you might be coming across a really great place to live, or you might feel that you've got a fantastic place to be living in. I see a happy family unit, and I see dreams becoming a reality. Excuse me for that while I just move myself on my chair. I'd say that there's a great deal of emotional passion and vitality, but this is a 10 and it's devolving. It's about to, the energy in this card is about to devolve into the Ace of Swords next. And there's a happiness here, I think, which is a sort of a fleeting sort of happiness. It's kind of short-lived, maybe something which has lost its ability to fulfill you. And what I'm getting there is consumer-related stuff, you know? Sometimes you may have bought something. I mean, this might sound sort of mundane and non-earth-shattering, but nevertheless, most of our days are like this in some ways. You may have bought something, but it's lost its ability to give you the enjoyment that you thought it was going to give you. And that could be new shoes, a new dress. It could be a new cell phone. It could be any number of things. The pleasure is short-lived. You think it's going to make you happy, but then you get bored and want to move on to the next thing. Maybe in a relationship, it might relate to the loss of pleasure in what the relationship brings, and therefore you either have to alter the dynamic of the relationship or move away from it. It's not as if you're not happy. It's just that, and I'm using this water here with cups. Imagine a bucket, and the bucket has been filled with water, and that's all the emotional satisfaction inside the bucket. But the bucket is full. If you try to add more to it, it doesn't do anything. It just spills over the sides. So what you have to do if you want to continue fulfillment, and that feeling of fulfillment, is to re-energize, to reconfigure, to alter the dynamic of the relationship, of the bucket, such that it can allow more to come into it. And relax, close your eyes and breathe deeply and calmly. Let a picture arise in you which shows you in a state of complete fulfillment. And repeat that exercise often and connect to this feeling more and more with your reality. Have this affirmation that life gives me all that I need to be happy, because it really does. Let's have a look at the King of Swords. This is in May. Okay, you can see there, King of Swords. Let's get him a bit closer. Well, what can I say about the King of Swords? Well, the first thing is this, is that I'll say that kings, esoterically, are related to fire. And swords, of course, is the suit of air. So what we have is we have the fiery part of air. And fire and air are very, very reactive to one another. They add to the strength of one another. So the image that I'm getting here is something which is akin to a windstorm, storms, hurricanes, forces of passion originating in the mind, which is swords. Well, the Lord of the winds and breezes, I call him. I've had a look at you, so why don't you pop out a bit so we can see you in connection with what else is around you. I'm just having a look at this card down here. I just digress. Isn't that a fascinating looking card? Well, we'll get to that. Here we go. This is really the true will exploding the mind spontaneously. What am I getting around him as somebody who may be in your life? Well, swords, air, sure. Gemini is what I would say, or a Taurus, even though it's not a an air sign. The reason why I'm getting those things there is because Gemini and Taurus is because I'm really getting the feeling that you will have the energy of the mind in Gemini with the influence of the stability and determination of Taurus. It's kind of like 2/3 Gemini and 1/3 Taurus. The Taurus bit is the last decan and therefore the most unpredictable. This is a man, I think, although these things can just as easily be females, but I'll refer to him as a he because of the way he's drawn. Somebody who is active, clever, skillful, fierce and courageous. He represents the idea for me of attack, of the violent power of motion applied. He is the wind, the storm. His moral qualities are skill, subtlety, and cleverness. He is fierce, delicate, courageous, but altogether consumed by his current idea, which comes to him as inspiration without reflection and considered thought. Yeah. Goal-oriented, ambition, flexible intellectual powers, passion, and a great deal of vehemence with him. I think what this is saying is that you are going to have a clear insight into a problem, and you'll be working quickly to set goals without letting anything get in the way. It will nevertheless, during this month in May, be a restless period where you are transitioning and trying to get somewhere else, either in your everyday life or I'm also getting travel around it, you know. It is certainly a time for you to listen to your head rather than to your heart. Because I have the impression that this man here is more comfortable in his head rather than in expressing his feelings. Now, you of course have no difficulty expressing your feelings, but I think the reason why he's shown up is because he's saying that here, in this month, it's a time for you to be listening to your head rather than your heart. And this king indicates restlessness, I think, in all aspects of life. Maybe you feel like you might want to break free of something. Maybe break free of something in the workplace. Now, in relationship settings, he can often represent that type of a relationship, and you'll recognize it because you may know someone. So it could be one of those people that I spoke of being either a Taurus or a Gemini, or maybe something that you could go through in this time, where there's the type of relationship where the couple is together, they're happy, they fight, they break up, they can't live without each other, they get back together, they're happy, they fight, they break up, they can't live without each other, and they keep going through this thing. Well, of course, this can be awfully draining in the long run, and what happens, of course, is that someone says, well, who signed up for this? It certainly wasn't me, and that is that. So I think that's a type of energy which is going to be around you in that period there. Then we come here into, now there's the King of Swords, and here is the wife of the King, and this is the Queen of Swords. Look at her. She's come up. Very interesting sort of a depiction of the Queen of Swords. Well, what do I have? I have, well, I call her the Queen of the Thrones of Air, and I really have Virgo and Libra coming up around her. Virgo and Libra. This is all about, I think, making clear decisions based on fact and fairness, which is kind of similar to the Queen of Swords herself, interestingly. I have there's very much an association here, I think, with that Major Arcana card, number 8, called Justice or Adjustment, which has got a big Libra influence in it. The reason why I say that is because if you look at this eye here, that eye is green in colour, and I associate the colour green like that with the planet of Venus. So it's bringing me back into this sort of Libra, adjusting, keeping things balanced and fair and working things out, going through a process of, sorting out inner harmony for yourself. I think that this represents a woman who is graceful, very perceptive, a keen observer, someone who's actually very good at interpreting what is going on with other people, even though they're not necessarily saying what's on their mind. You can work out what's on their mind. Somebody who is an intense individualist, somebody who is very confident and very gracious is what I'm getting from her as well. I think it's saying that this is following up very much from this King of Swords. So in this May-June period, this is also saying that you must use your intellect to make an unbiased decision. That's why I'm getting that Libra, Venus-Libra thing, that way or that way. Using your intellect to make an unbiased decision about a situation. Now, I have to tell you that compassion and empathy may distract you, but you must put those aside, and you must go with your head and not your heart. And wasn't that the same message that was coming through from the month before? So this is obviously something which is pertinent to you. It's not a time to beat around the bush about a situation. It's a time for deciding and acting. And it's also about cutting through old patterns and masks. And you do have a few masks, don't you, in the wardrobe? And have the courage of your convictions and move forward. And it's saying that you will have the courage of your convictions and move forward. And not only that, but you're going to have what I consider to be, in the month following, the divine protection associated with that. Because here we have a card, the Eight of Cups. Now, this Eight of Cups, look at it's a young woman or a child with a lion's skin on it. Now, this is reminiscent to me of that Greek, the ancient Greek religion, we call Greek mythology, where Zeus was the king of the gods and he was married to Hera, the queen of the gods. Anyway, Zeus rather took a shine to this human lady. And the lady was married, and she was married to a guy who was a general. And what Zeus did, he turned up on Earth, and he took the form of the woman's husband. The husband was away at battle, if you don't mind, looking after the interests of the state. So he took the form of the woman's husband, and of course he slept with her. In fact, I think he slept with her through a period of about 3 days or 3 nights or something like that. Anyway, to cut a long story short, she of course gets pregnant. And she's pregnant with a child in Greek called Heracles, but who we today know as Hercules. Anyway, Hera, the wife of Zeus, finds out about this, and of course she goes demented. And she says, right, I'm going to do everything I can to stop the birth of that child. She failed, and when the child was a toddler, she then sent this large poisonous snake to go and kill the little boy. He, however, thwarted her plans by grabbing the snake, using his strength, and killed the snake, strangled it and killed it. And of course, it was well beyond what any other child of that age could do, and his fame started to grow. And he went on as an adult, half god, half man, I've heard that before, to fame and fortune, but not without a lot of aggravation and stress along the way. And one form of aggravation and stress were you would have heard of the 12 labors of Hercules. Well, the first labor of Hercules was to go and kill a thing called the Nemean lion. Now, that lion had a skin which was impervious to spears, arrows, or knives. And Hercules, of course, was thrown into the ring with this lion, and nothing would work until he decided at the end, look, I'll just use my brute strength. And he strangled the lion, killing the beast. He then skinned it and then wore the the lion's skin around him as a form of protection. Well, this to me looks like the form of protection which is around you during this month. This is the divine protection around you, because there is, during this period, you're going to feel a bit downhearted about something, a little bit teary, I think, is how you're going to feel. This is Saturn ruling the first decan of Pisces, the 19th to the 29th of February. Now, Saturn is about structure, organization, discipline. It's a heavy energy. It's all about responsibility and what have you. Whereas Pisces is intuitive, spiritual, likes fantasy, and it's emotional. Well, what happens is that Saturn in Pisces, Saturn completely deadens the water of Pisces. Saturn dominates and suffocates the joy of Pisces. And also there is, for me, with this number 8, associated the planet of Mercury, this flighty planet of Mercury present. So the overall influences resemble really dark Saturn with no growth. Now, the other thing is that I have Mercury with this number 8. Well, in ordinary astrology, Mercury is in detriment in Pisces. So we have a conflict here as well. Well, what does this all mean? The secret name of the card is that it is the child of abandoned success. So you kind of, I think, will be feeling, look, what's the point? I may just give up on something. It's pointing to stagnation. It's where you have this kind of feeling in your life, a bit teary, where you're thinking, I don't have any interest in my friends or any of the things I like doing anymore. It's almost as if you are, just being a bit of a martyr, just denying yourself pleasure, where you've got a bit of a lack of get up and go, which is what I call it, which could be a reaction to feeling a bit empty in your life, or that you don't have anything to fulfill you. It could also be the feeling of being overtired or drained, depleted, exhausted. I think you have a tendency to overgive, you see, or to randomly overextend yourself. And this is a warning, I think, for you not to overextend yourself to the point of exhaustion. Right, so don't do that. Or there may well be the need to set limits with someone. And that somebody, I would think, might well be a Pisces person. Look, there is an angel called Rahel. That name is one of the 72 names of God. It is, without going into the detail of it, it's derived from chapter 14, verses 19 to 21 of the book of Exodus, which is in the Hebrew Bible, or the Old Testament in the Christian Bible. Now that name, Rahel, substitutes for the word Lord in another book of that Hebrew Bible or Old Testament called the Book of Psalms. And I'm pretty sure it's Psalm 16, verse 5, which says, "The Lord is my allotted share and portion. You control my fate." Yeah, you control my fate. Now, meditating on that name, Rahel, and on that verse, and I'm sure it's Psalm 16, verse 5, you will find that with every step you take and each moment that passes, you will feel comfort, confidence, and a stronger sense of direction. This never fails. What do we have then in August? We have another king, another court card. Well, it looks to me like any of that moping around that you feel you might be involved in July is going to be overtaken in August, because here we have the King of Wands. Now, as you recall, I said, didn't I, that kings esoterically are fire. And wands, esoterically, are fire as well. So we have the fiery part of fire, and things do not get any more energetic than this. This is the Lord of Flame and Lightning, the King of the spirits of fire. Who's around here? Who's around here? Sagittarius, Scorpio. The moral qualities of this character are activity, generosity, impetuosity. So I've been quite impetuous, I think. Proud, swift, but unpredictable action is what I see with this guy. Fierceness. I think that there may well be startling, perilous, and revolutionary qualities contained in events around you during this period. But you should be cool, collected, resolute, and energetic, and be careful of the actions that you take. Nothing not well thought out. But go forward with an alert confidence in your ability, and you will be just fine. This is a man, and I think that you will find this coming to you as well, who he is energetic and ambitious, adventurous, determined. Now, I have to say this to you as well. I really do think that you are going to have a magnetism, an attraction about you during this period, which people are going to basically be powerless to resist. You are going to be very attractive, and you may well have the ability to go and capitalize upon that. So find your vitality, trust your gut instincts, let your hair down, give yourself a pep talk, and believe that you can do it. I think that this is also saying to you that there's obviously something around that where swift, sudden, and strong action is necessary to be taken. And you need a virtuous goal to be focused upon, I think. Seek out situations and opportunities that challenge you. Engage them with all of your energy. Remember this, and have this as a thought in your mind during this period, that every challenge which arises helps me grow. Every storm strengthens my roots, and it certainly does that. Now here we have the card, which is the Tower. Now this card where it's placed, it's got this King of Wands here, and here's the Three of Cups coming after it, and above it is this Two of Cups. Now ordinarily this might be a bit of a challenge, this card, but I think, given how it's placed and the energies of the suits around it, that it's really, really good for you. And I'll tell you why it's good for you. Let's have a look at the Tower. First of all, here we have the Tower. Well, we can tell that. So what we have to say about the Tower is it can represent a time where, well, first of all, I call it the Lord of the Hosts of the Mighty, and it is Mars, the warrior planet, here in full attack mode to destroy the Tower. Look, to be honest, the Tower, I think, represents the limitations of your ego, that part of consciousness which is trapped in form. Do you know, the structure of identity that we have of ourselves, which we have built up over our lifetime, that's not us. It's actually only a very tiny part of who we truly are, yet we see it as being the totality. And I think what this card is doing is it's saying that, look, this limitation of consciousness needs to be broken down. It's almost like, well, I say Mars, the warrior planet, but one could also look at the Lord Shiva, the Eye of Shiva, where Shiva in the Hindu religion, philosophy, comes in as the destroyer so that new can begin. The old is being destroyed to make way for the new. Could well be a spiritual renewal or some self-knowledge. But I really see this as being... I don't see a bad side to this for you. I see this as being release, revelation, breaking down old forms or patterns, and even the calm after the storm is what I see. Now, it could also be, though, a time where you ask yourself this, that is, how could I have been so mistaken about a situation or a person which I now have to come to terms with? That could be a thing. And there could well be anger or grief or depression that can affect you. Even maybe you could even think in a way that your sense of security has been lost or at least badly shaken. And you could even feel, oh, look, my comfortable world will never be the same again. But it is going to be. Now, that can sometimes come about as a result of relationship breakups. They can very often be hard. Sometimes it's about losses of jobs or the death of a loved one. But the important message is that, as I said before, that with the destruction of the old comes the new. And we can eventually look at life in a much more meaningful way, which makes you wiser. I think also, really, I'm getting this absolute feeling coming through here, and it's because of, as I say, where it's sitting in relation to these other cards, is that it may well signify a major internal change. It's as if the divine spirit is moving through your psyche and burning out anything that is fake. But be easy on yourself, right? So you're going to have some change. You will go through a process of change. Be easy on yourself. Be gentle as you are going to metamorphosize, I think, in the same way as a caterpillar metamorphosizes into a beautiful butterfly. You know, who you think you are is a belief to be undone. And I think you have the ability to heal and restore yourself at all times. And remember this, that you are not inside your body. Your body is inside you. I'm just having these words that are coming to me now, and it is brought by this energy that's here. It's strike. Oh, take me now in an instant. Strike with the passionate strength of thy love to overwhelm this silly thought I have of thee, this struggling artifice. Flood the channels of my nerves with the lightning current of thyself. Have this thought in mind. Everything that happens in my life is for the best. Because you've got this immediately upon it. You can't get better cards than these. These are superb. I wish I should... well, the problem is I can't do myself. I've got no psychic ability for anything to do with myself or my close family. Probably a good thing. The Three of Cups. Well, the first thing I'll say about the Three of Cups is that I love the number 3. It has the planet Saturn associated with it. But Saturn, in this sense, is actually in its... the esoteric astrology, which I pursue, shows Saturn here as actually being in a very constructive form rather than in the down going over like a lead balloon sort of form that it often has. But 3 is about extension. It's about increase. It's about development. And I call this card here for you the Lord of Abundance, because it's Mercury in the second decan of Cancer, the 2nd to the 11th of July. Now, Cancer is the most maternal of the signs, and it's well placed in this number 3, which is about gestation. It's about pregnancy. It's about growing a child, if you like. And you know that you can communicate with feeling, and you convey a sensitive, withdrawn and thoughtful, gentle, intuitive nature. I think that with Mercury in Cancer, we have the will and communications in a sign that's very nurturing. So you can express your feelings fully with people that you are close to in a way which is going to really just enrich your life, is what I have to say. Now look at those three streams. They're coming down from the source and they're falling to earth. Are they not? And that's a little bit like the divine spirit coming from the source and falling to earth. And look at the tree that grows from it. Well, it's growing in silhouette there. It's growing in all sorts of directions. Some parts of it are thick. This is like the tree of life, isn't it? But notice one thing, that regardless of what type of a branch it is, it's all growing up. None of it's growing back down to where it is. So I see this really of being... Look, I saw marriage up there before. I'm getting around this, the idea of a child adding to a family, adding a child, a pregnancy is what I'm getting. Could well be the birth of an idea or the setting of a goal. I think you'll be sharing your success with others, and life is going to feel really good for you during this month, and it's a good time to tell other people that you love them. It's also a good time to go and boost the morale of other people. If you see someone in the mall who looks good in the dress that she's wearing, go up and just say, "Look, I love those colours on you. That looks fantastic." You know, not in a strange way. And you'll boost their morale, and they'll be... I can't tell you the benefit, the karmic benefit that there is from doing things like that. Enjoy your riches at the moment, but be aware of their limitation and see them for what they are. I think there's going to be called upon you here to have an outpouring of love, and the outpouring of love is going to be to at least 1, 2, 3 very significant people in your life, and because Mercury's in there, it's about communication. So tell these 3 very significant people, maybe more, that you love them, because God forbid that they should go back home before you've had the chance to say that to them. Now, well, it doesn't get any better than this card, does it? Let's have a look at this one, the 6 of Cups. Look, the first thing I'll say about the 6 is this, is that I love the number. The number 6 relates, for me, to an area of divine emanation prior to the appearance of matter, which loosely and metaphorically speaking can be referred to as Krishna consciousness or Christ consciousness. Now, I'm not selling religion, but what I'm saying is that where there is the ability of the human through just letting their thoughts wander to God, but without thinking about it, such that you do find that in an instant you have the apprehension or near apprehension of divinity, and that unification that's there. This is the Lord of Pleasure, this card, and it is the Sun ruling the 2nd decan of Scorpio. Yeah, I'm pretty sure of that, the 3rd to the 12th of November. Now, with this number 6 here, we also have the Sun associated with the number 6. So we have the Sun there, and we have the Sun ruling Scorpio. So we have a double dose of the Sun. And a double Sun reveals what Scorpio wants to hide. Well, Scorpio, of course, rules the 8th house in astrology, which is... well, it's about transformation, but it's particularly about sex. And this is a very highly sexualized card. This is speaking to me of pleasure, indulgence, sexual pleasure, excitement. Communication with ancestors is something I'm getting, family support. Very, very, very sexualized, but the pleasure is a kind of pleasure which is completely harmonized. The zodiacal sign governing this card being Scorpio, well, really, pleasure there is rooted in its most convenient soil, isn't it? This is a preeminently fertile card, and it really is one of the best in the pack. You know, the emphasis on the card really is about sexuality, but not in the uncontrolled sexuality that you might get Look, as the energy goes down a bit further down the suit, down to the 7, things can get a little bit out of hand. But this is very harmonized type of pleasure. I think also, I'm looking at this. This is an archangel, Uriel. I think Uriel is the keeper of the keys to heaven, and the keys to hell is also the archangel, the energy which supports artists and those in the creative arts. This energy, with all this water around it in cups, I'm getting the feeling that the pleasure that you're experiencing here is it's come after some hardship, I think. That's what I'm getting. Like, he's trying to get out of the water. But the other thing that the water does is that the water is very good at moisturizing. And so I think that you have probably also been and are going through a period of healing and transformation, is what I'm kind of getting from these things here. Now, the emphasis is on a relationship, or the desire for a relationship that will improve both individuals, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Yeah, great. Look, if you are not coupled at the moment, I'd say I am now open to a partner with whom I can share the joys of love on all levels. And as I say, in this month, I hope you like sex, because that is what's coming through by the look of it in November. And then in December, here we have this card here. Geez, what are you going to do after all that sexual activity? This can be incidentally, this can also occur within a coupled situation. You know, there can be a reinvigoration, and I think it's very good for couples. Where is it? This is very good for couples, and it's very good for people who are looking to couple with someone, or even people who are just looking to play the field. I mean, it's got a lot of energy in it and a lot of sex, as I say. Now, here we have a Hierophant, and isn't this an interesting depiction of this Hierophant figure? The number 5. Well, the Hierophant, I would say that what this means for you is, I'm really getting the sign of Taurus in here, with Venus ruling it and the moon exalted. Yeah, Venus in Taurus with the moon exalted. So Taurus, of course, is earth, and the emphasis is the importance of applying your spiritual realization in the day-to-day world, right? Spirit is not, it's not something out there. It's not a thing in the imagination. I mean, the divinity is all around you and within you, and you commune with the divinity by getting through your day-to-day life, or washing the dishes, as long as it's done with good intent. I do see, though, that during this period, I call this card the Magus of the Eternal Gods. I really feel during this period of December that you may well be good. Now, if you're not a teacher, a counselor, or a consultant, now you could be, it's very good for those people. And if you're not one of those, then I think what it is, it's saying people are going to come to you and they're going to be looking for your advice on things. They're going to be looking for counsel. They're going to say, what should I do? How should I do this? I think it could also be the case that you might need to feel that you've just got to... Look, I wouldn't be using this period in December to go and start any revolutions. I would just really wait till next year to do that. I would use this period in December to just kind of follow the rules. That is, don't drink and drive, don't speed, do all that sort of stuff, and follow traditions. It's a period where there could well be... a lot of learning going on in your life. If you're in an organization which has got a lot of people in it, I think it's very good for people who are in nursing, the police force, the military, large corporations. You'll be doing very well in that scenario, I think, during this month. Well, what I mean by that is that the work that you have done and what you are doing will be recognized. I think a lot of you could well be finding that in this December, sales could be a thing there. It's like, I think that you'll be doing well in sales, and I see some bonuses and things coming through. Yeah. I just have these words coming through, and it is, "How are you now, my husband, that is my bride? What word must I remember? Nail me to the door of your enemy, to the door of the marketplace, to the door of your tomb, that, naked and unknowing, even I may be a sign of your devotion to all your lovers." Yeah. I think it's also saying to me that it's a time to really, I think, get with, as I say, no revolutions are required. I think that you'll be very gifted at imparting information and inspiring others. I think that you'll be committed to the concept of community. And I feel that you will actually have a great attraction. I'm just getting this, like an attraction to music, sounds. Yeah, you'll be very good at listening and speaking and making your ideas tangible and usable. I think during this period, you're going to be looking into next year and say, look, I really have a deep desire to be challenged by new experiences. There may be issues around your family that need to be integrated, I think. Certainly, I think that you'd be very good in teaching or counseling or consulting, creative arts, something like that, I think. I'd say this. Have this thought in mind. I honor the sacred within me. I am inspired by learning and teaching. I am creative and productive in my family and professional life. Well, this looks like it could well be your best year ever. That's the way it is for you. Well, there you go. That's it. Your 2020 annual reading done. I tell you what, I think that this is going to be your best year ever. I really do have that feeling about it. I've got to say that the vibe that's come out of that reading of yours is very, very positive, and you should be looking forward to this year. By the way, I just want to say also that you've been fabulous. You've been great, and in fact, you've been brilliant, and you've played your part of this exercise to perfection. And I thank you for that. Look, really, all that remains for me to say is this: that you are a legend, and I hope I see you in my monthly readings. Subscribe if you want, but check out the videos anyway. Until then, bye for now.